New helmet, new color. Hey guys, thanks for joining me again. As always, I hope you're having a happy Thursday if you're actually watching this on a Thursday. As you may recall, in my last video, my Harbor Freight welding helmet gave out on me. So yeah, here's my old Harbor Freight helmet. It has served me fairly well. It seemed to work pretty well. It was fairly comfortable. Visibility through it was pretty good, but it did give out on me after a few months of use. Instead of going dark, it flashes. So I've got this new one, this Lincoln. It's a 3350, and it's got this cool design on it. Pretty neat. And the visibility through this one is absolutely crazy. If you weld, you're familiar with the green tint in a welding helmet. Well, these new ones from Lincoln, zero green. Everything's white and blue. It's pretty darn incredible, the visibility. And yes, as you just saw, my new build colors are going to be gray and orange, and of course black on some things, but I'm going to be building in a bunch of gray and orange, and I think that'll be a pretty cool color scheme. Someone had guessed red. I was like, no, red, everyone does red, so why not orange? Actually, I can't take total credit for coming up with the idea of orange and gray. Jeff, the guy who loaned me the Samurai for the Rubicon. No damage. He showed me a couple of examples, and I thought, yeah, that does look pretty good. So that's what I'm going with. So as you can see, I've got my fully painted and welded rear axle back under the vehicle, and now I need to hook that back up to the vehicle with my links. But hey, these links are not ready to go back under the vehicle. I need to actually fully weld up these bungs and get these painted. So as many of you know, I really don't have any experience building vehicles like this, so I turned to the internet for a lot of information. And there's a lot of information, good, bad, and in between on the internet. And there's a lot of opinions on welding up these bungs on links. About half of people say that you should do rosette or plug welds in the tube right here to help grab onto the end. Another threat of doing this is messing up the threads on the inside of the bung with the heat. The heat can actually distort the threads and make it so you can't get your link in there. But having this beveled end on the end of the tube seems to be pretty universal. It gives you a pretty good little lip right here to get a weld into to grab onto the end. I've decided I'm not going to do rosette or plug welds because I think it's not necessary unless you're racing or something. I think it'll be fine. Now, how to weld a tube is also a hotly discussed topic on the internet. There's all kinds of ideas out there about how to do it. I'm going to do it this way, and I didn't come up with this idea, and if I do it successfully, I'll share with you who gave me this idea, because if I screw it up, I don't want to make it sound like it was a bad idea. Anyways, so I've got this angle iron, I've got my ground here. I actually tack welded these to the table and cleaned off everything, so there's great conductivity between the tube, and it rolls on here nice and smooth. And so what I'm actually going to do is roll this, and I can get a weld on there in one smooth motion. And I've got to clean the mill scale off of this tubing anyway, so I'm going to do that before I do the welding, just to even further maximize the quality of my ground. So I used a wire brush for this instead of like a flap disc. So I didn't create a bunch of flat spots on the tube, and the wire brush left me with a nice, clean, kind of satiny finish. That'll be perfect for paint. I'm going to slather some anti-seize in here, just so that, mostly so that if any slag spits off the welding, that it doesn't stick to the threads and mess them up that way. Well, I think it's a good technique. I'm just not a great welder, but it's not bad, and I know it'll hold. But I feel like I did it right because there's just a tiny bit of resistance in there. So that means the heat got down to the threads, but it wasn't enough to destroy the threads. So that's just perfect, I guess. So now I'm just getting these other 3 links prepped and ready to go under the flame, and then I'll get these things painted. Alright, here are my links and rear drive shaft, all oranged up, and everything else behind them with orange paint dust on them. It is just dust. Kind of amazing. But yeah, there they are. It's a good thing I wore my respirator. It turned orange a little bit. I wouldn't want that to be my lungs. And look at that. My limit straps from Busted Knuckle showed up. 12-inch and 14-inch limit straps. So we'll get those on there as I reassemble this thing. So I've been reassembling the rear end, and it's been going really well, of course. But there was some last minute metal editing that I had to do. I've got the coils on here, and so there's these spring perches on both sides, and so I've had to trim out some of the metal right here on the truss just to get this spring perch to fit against here on both sides. All right, guys, well, I finally got the rear end all put back together, and everything fits like a glove. And by that I mean things are a little bit tight, but I think they'll work. So here's the links you can see here. Got my limiting strap. It's actually holding up the axle right now. The axle's at full droop because I've got the coils in, so it's fully extended right now. Sway bars attached. There's the differential cover there. Looking good. And basically the same thing on this side. Everything's fully extended, just being supported by the limiting strap. You can see the drive shaft in there. So, yeah, looks pretty awesome, right? It'll be interesting to see after I get everything moving, make sure nothing interferes. If there is any interference with anything, it'll probably be pretty minor and easily remedied. But yeah, it's pretty tight back here. Well, I had hoped to get a little bit further along in this video, but sometimes things just take extra time. That seems to be the rule. Anyways, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And like this video and leave me some comments. And we'll see you on Monday, guys.